Okay, I have a rolling camera person, so we're going to try something different. Vlogging to a rolling camera person, assistant. Not sure how this will go. It's pretty warm. I'm really sweaty, but it's mostly downhill, so we will give it a shot. I got a lot of questions asking about my position and concerns over nuclear power in response to my last video. And I want to get to that soon. But first, I thought I might share the story of sort of where my relationship with nuclear power began. It was the spring of 1979. I was a college junior, just turning 21. Naturally, this is the time when during spring break, when young men head to Florida from Michigan to get drunk and party with loose sorority women. Unless you're one of 5 nerdy guys from Alma College, in which case you decide to go to Washington, D.C., see the pandas in the National Zoo, visit the museums. So that's what we did. And it was a great trip. But the key point was that this happened just after the 3 Mile Island incident. And to be honest, I didn't know much about nuclear power. I'd written a paper about it in high school, but not very in-depth or sophisticated. Like any good nerdy boy, I was all for it. I had great faith in technology to solve all the world's problems. But yeah, 3 Mile Island had just not melted down, but had a definite problem. And this was a contentious issue. And so there were posters up all over announcing that in 2 weeks there was going to be a big political march on Washington, no nukes rally. And we decided this should be part of every young person's college experience. And we had been denied this through most of the 70s. We were the post-Watergate babies. Politics really weren't our thing. We were more into conspicuous consumption. We were the me generation. Yeah, we were not generally all that political, but my friend Tom and I, we were fairly liberal. I had done a couple of small coffeehouse concert things that benefit Save the Seals. Our heart was in the right places, so we thought, yes, we should take part in this March on Washington. And we decided everybody should do this. We should go back to Alma College, get busloads of the kids to come down. Oberlin was sending 2 buses. There were like 90 coming from New York. But Alma College is a pretty conservative place, mostly funded by Dow and attended by, well, it's a Presbyterian college, so there you go. Not a hotbed of political activism. So the bus was out. So our second thought was get a motorcycle. I think I probably had a motorcycle at this time. I usually did. And we would easy rider it to Washington. And that seemed like a good idea for a bit. But then we thought, no, if you're going to do this as radical college students marching on Washington, we should go all the way. And we would hitchhike to Washington, D.C. And the trouble is, the thing that went wrong here is that we told everybody we were going to do this. So then when it came time to leave, my girlfriend literally pushed us out of the door. We had 2 sleeping bags, $40, a box of Triscuits, and a bag of black licorice. And I don't even like black licorice. And we took a big piece of yellow poster board, a big black marker, put Wash DC, drew a picture of Washington Monument on one side, wrote Lansing, Michigan on the other side. That would be our ticket home. Now we weren't too worried. We left after our last class on Thursday, I believe. We were just going to ditch Friday. But we figured if we aren't the other side of Detroit by sundown, we're just going to turn around and come back. Left campus, started walking towards the freeway, and much to our chagrin, before we got like 100 yards down the street, somebody pulled over and asked us if we wanted to ride to the freeway, which was kind of weird. We didn't even have our thumbs out or anything yet. But they gave us a ride to the freeway, and we thought, no problem. Nobody's got to pick up 2 weird-looking college guys. And I was pretty weird-looking. But we were standing on the entrance ramp walking down to the freeway, and a car pulls off. And it's a professor from Central Michigan University on his way to Lansing, and he gives us a ride.
All the way there?
No.
Oh.
To Lansing. So he gives us a ride all the way to Lansing, which is only about 40 miles, and we're not too worried because this is still where we can call and say somebody needs to come get us when we're stranded. And in fact, Lansing turned out to be the worst stretch of the trip. We had to walk 4 or 5 miles through Lansing, nobody even slowing down. But as soon as we got close to the other side of town, because we only kind of clipped the corner of Lansing, we get another ride, this time from a guy in a van with a very wet and smelly dog in the back. But he gives us a ride from Lansing to Detroit, and we're well on our way. Not too nervous yet. Our next ride is a very large, gregarious African-American man in a big black Lincoln town car or Cadillac or something, I don't remember for sure. And he gives us a ride basically from one side of Detroit to the other. So we're dropped on the other side of Detroit. And the sun is about where it is now, headed down, but we're only a little bit nervous. And shortly thereafter, we get picked up by Ralph. And now is when the story is going to get good. Ralph is driving a rusted out Toyota with a big dent in the right rear fender so that when you go over big bumps, you can hear it rubbing against the tire. And he asks us, he says he can take us a ways, but do we mind if he has to run off towards Monroe or someplace to drop something off or pick something up? We're like, okay, because he's promised to take us a little ways further. Well, we drive a long way out of the way, and along that way, we pick up Mac. He picks up another hitchhiker. Ralph is kind of bored and lonely. He works for the railroad, and I don't think he had many friends. But we pick up Mac, who's from Tennessee, with a very decided accent. And we eventually finally make it back to the highway. We're headed down south towards Ohio. And Mike is regaling us with stories about how he has to get back home to Tennessee. Because, and this is a very direct quote, these women up here are cold. He has to get home. We should come down to Tennessee. Those hillbilly girls, they love to, well, do something. I don't want to say it with my 16-year-old rolling camera girl here. But he was not too subtle.
Thank you for censoring for the public.
But anyway, somehow Ralph, when we get across the Ohio state line, has to drop Mike off. But we get to keep riding. And he's going to take us down to the turnpike in Ohio, which is great with us. And in fact, when we get to the turnpike, Ralph doesn't have anything to do. He offers to take us down the turnpike to the first exit, or to the next toll booth. And when we get there, he decides he'll go to another one. And so it goes on like this for a while. Ralph keeps deciding that he'll go to one more turnpike stop. After a while, he does kind of start dropping hints about how he doesn't mind giving us a ride. He's done some hitchhiking. And then he sort of subtly mentions how sometimes, people would even help him out with the meal, and sometimes he'd help them out, give them some money for gas. But I'm sorry, Ralph. We had $40 and didn't know how we were ever going to get home again. We didn't ask you to take you out of your way. This was all your idea. So he keeps driving, and I don't know, sometime around 2 in the morning, we're probably well on our way through Pennsylvania, and he decides he's kind of tired. Does one of us know how to drive a stick? I'm like, yeah, I can drive a stick. I can drive anything. We switch places, and he goes to sleep, and I'm driving the Toyota on the way to Washington in the middle of the night as dawn is approaching. And as the sun is coming up, and we're coming to, what is it, Maryland?
Some new state.
Some new state. I think it's Maryland. There's another hitchhiker alongside the road. Ralph and Tom are both asleep. But what am I supposed to do? Ralph picked up Tom and I. Ralph picked up Mike. And here's another lonely person standing beside the road. Oh, did I mention she was a fairly attractive young woman? Because she was. So I thought, what would Ralph want me to do? So I pulled over. And Ralph and Tom wake up when we pull over. I said, should we pick this person up? Or something to that effect. And they're like, yeah. So she gets in the car. And remarkably, I don't remember her name.
What's her name?
I don't remember her name.
What's her name? Plays in the Distance by Green Day.
But I remember she was trying to get back home to New York. Because she went to a party. And she woke up in some truck driver's truck in like Texas.
Ooh.
And she's trying to get back to New York. She's a hooker in New York, according to her. Have you ever been to New York? It's a really fun place. You can get anything you want 24 hours a day. According to the woman who we just now refer to as the hooker from New York. Who immediately took over control of the radio and knew all the words to every disco song out at the time. So this is how we ride into Washington, D.C. Tom, myself, Ralph, and the hooker from New York, as the sun has now come up. It's like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning.
The dream team.
And Tom and I kind of figure, man, this is as much luck as we can count on. If we hang out any further with these two, things can only go bad from here. So when we park beside the Lincoln Memorial and get out of the car, Tom and I sort of walk off one way and let the young woman from New York walk off in the other way. He's hoping to find some place he can cash a check or otherwise come up with money, because there wasn't an ATM on every corner in 1979 already. I always wonder what happened to Ralph, and to a lesser extent, wonder what happened to her. But we get to Washington in the morning, and it's a great day. The weather was perfect. We ran out of road, and I've used up a lot. She's right there. She's beautiful. She just likes making funny faces. We ran out of road, and I'm kind of running out of time and daylight. Maybe I'll finish the story tomorrow or soon. If anybody wants to hear the rest of the story, I will tell it next time. So don't forget to be awesome. Until then, talk to you again soon, hopefully.